Hey, welcome to the Church Explained podcast, a conversation to grow your leadership and build your church. We're in for a great show today, aren't we?
We are. We're joined by PJ and Ulrica. And let me just tell you a little bit about PJ and Ulrica.
Come on.
PJ is Per Johan Stenstrand.
Right.
I like that.
That is right. Or as most people in the world call him, Pastor PJ. And he is the pastor of Life Centre Church, Sweden. Pastor PJ grew up in a pastor's family, and after his university studies in economics and Bible school, I never knew those went together, he set off into ministry, pastoring, always with an entrepreneurial passion for growing the church and reaching the lost. Nice. Pastor PJ is an encourager with a contagious personality. He is the author of the book Comeback, and is widely known as a pastor of pastors. Alrighty. But also we're joined by Pastor Ulrica, who has worked within the news and media industry for more than 25 years, and is now also the owner of Sailor Talk, a counselling and consulting resource for leaders in various spheres of life. PJ and Ulrica planted Life Centre Church in Västerås, close to Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. Life Centre Church is now a multi-campus church reaching the heartland of that nation. Always young at heart and passionate about church planting, PJ and Ulrica have been a driving force for training and releasing emerging leaders and planting churches worldwide. They have 2 children and 2 grandchildren.
Yeah. Wow.
Well done. Well done. We can leave.
That's it.
A lot of stuff there, isn't there?
Quite a short bio.
Yes, very short.
So we should have a few things to talk about today, hopefully.
Yeah.
One or two.
There's 1 or 2 things in there. And actually, we've had another Swedish guest on our show before, haven't we?
Yes.
Simon Holtz.
Simon Holtz.
Yeah, he's been on the show before.
Yeah.
And he's doing pretty well. And he has his own podcast as well.
Yep.
But we don't want to say anything, but it's not as good as ours.
No.
Not that there's competition or anything.
No.
But we'll just put it out there. Simon, if you're listening, we are still cheering you on.
There's never been any competition in the Christian world.
No,
Never, ever.
But the fact, I think there's somewhere that's written that somebody came first to the tomb.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Yeah,
Somebody ran
exactly.
ahead, got there first,
Bit
of competition, a healthy competition.
Or the disciple Jesus loved.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there is some competition.
Always.
And there is something in there, isn't there, about actually God favours some people and not others. But that's another conversation, that one. But listen, welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
It is
Thank
so
you for
good
having
to
us.
have you.
Yeah.
You've flown into England, and you're here for a conference, but we've managed to put this in
Steal
on the
you
side
for a
Brilliant.
and have a great conversation today. So come on, we've got a little bit about your bio there, but why don't you share us a little bit more about your faith journey, ministry, a little bit more about your background, if you're happy to do that. Ulrica, we're going to come to you first.
Yep. Ladies
for it.
first.
Ladies
Thank you
first.
for
Thank
having
you.
us. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much. It's an honor for us to be here.
Pleasure.
So I hope my English is okay.
Pretty
Great.
good.
Yeah, it's a little
Better
bit
than
of
my
a
Swedish.
Swinglish accent.
Yeah.
You know, we sing when we talk. So PJ and Ulrica, just a little bit maybe about our family, and
Let's have
we
that.
are actually born the same year, the same month, and just 2
Not
days apart.
2 days apart. I was going to
So
say
we've
not
been
the same
together
day.
since we were 15.
Wow.
Not for you,
Crazy.
young crazy, but it was a perfect journey for us.
I like it.
And I can say that, I have said that a long time, but he's the oldest of 7. Grew up in a pastor's home. He's been moving around all Sweden. And I'm the youngest of 3.
Wow.
And I never moved before we met and got married. So it was good for us to have a few years. So we were 15. We went to parallel classes in school. We had math, German, French, science together for 4 years. And we went, his father was my pastor for 7, 8 years, something like that. And then we got married when we were 20. So when I say we are the same age. It sounds schizophrenic, but it's we are. We want it.
Let's get it out there now.
And when we got married, he was the youth pastor in my old hometown, my old home church where I grew up. And then we moved the year after to a new city, and that was a big step for me when I was a young pastor's wife. And then I started to work in the newspaper world, so to speak. And he was studying economics and working as a youth pastor in this new city. Wow. And then we had kids. Our kids are born 89 and 90, Robert and Victoria, 34 and 32 today. And I was working and in the church, always in church. I'm going to speak about that in the conference.
Very good, very good.
Cliffhanger. And 93 was a big year for us because we had a pastor that we've been working together with for like maybe 10 years, and he moved to that city that we still are in. It's called Västerås, and 92, and then he asked us to, actually he said to PJ, I want you to move with me and come to this city of Västerås. And I said, hey, what about me and the kids? So we moved to the city of Västerås 1993.
Wow.
And I thought with all my heart that I don't want to live here more than maximum 2 years. It's going to be like a season of mission. Like some people go to Africa, I go to Västerås for a season. But here we are 30 years later, and that's another conference, another story. But I was very shy. And he can't spell that word shy, so that's also a good mix. And it's been a journey of leadership for me to take my place, and I'm also going to speak more on the conference about that. But I've been working in the media world for 25 years. We've been buying, selling houses, renovating houses, a handyman, and adventurer in many ways. So we've been married for 37 years this summer.
Wow.
We've been together for 42 years. And now we're empty nesters with 2 grandkids, and life is better than ever.
Amazing.
Okay.
Hey,
Come on.
you have something to look forward to.
Well, I've got 3 boys at home.
Yeah.
And it's a few years till
for you,
we'll be empty nesters.
My boy's 14, so I'm counting down the years already.
And on the other hand, it's not really an empty house, so
they'll come back.
You think it's going to be empty, but
Hey, it's great to hear about that and just hear a little bit about your story and coming through there.
Yeah.
And of course, we do want to focus today on this idea of lasting in leadership and being in it for the long haul. And you guys have already described that, being in leadership for the long haul. I wonder, PJ, a little bit more about you. You obviously grown up with pastor's family. Tell us a little bit more about your faith journey then. What was the significant turner for you to say, I'm going to go into ministry? Because not all pastors' kids do.
no, definitely
Well,
not.
I'm the oldest of 7, so I got 5. We're 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow.
And about half of them I would say are in church now.
Wow.
I would say most of them have faith. I think all of them have, at least when things hit the fan, it's a phone call or a text message, pray for me. I just got one this morning about the father of one of their spouses, So my faith journey is probably a typical, everything is individual and of course unique for each person, but grew up in church, and I was turning 15, and that summer, just 2 months before, I was at a youth camp and experienced what we would say my calling. And it was just like a regular youth night, in a youth camp, and I experienced that God just spoke to me. Somebody preached, can't remember who. I think I know, but I can't really remember so much about all these things surrounding it. But the fact that I had a personal encounter with God, and He called me, and I knew instantly it was about the church. That I should be a part of something about pastoring and leading and serving and building. So that's what I've been doing all along this journey. And no matter if I was studying, at the university, or was a part of the youth group, or leading a youth ministry, or just been serving the church, and I have always enjoyed it. Just getting my hands dirty and getting to the regular stuff, and always with an idea that church can become greater, bigger, more influential, and touch lives. And with that said, the lasting idea of doing church is I think just finding it's like, I think, if I speak to young leaders today, I would say that do as much as you can.
Yeah.
Scripture is very clear that it says that, and I think it's a bit in a contradiction to what our age is doing. Scripture says that it's very useful and it's good for a young man to carry a burden in his younger years. I mean, we're training, we're failing, we're understanding, we're dissecting ourselves and life, and finally you come to an understanding that maybe this is the place God has placed me. This is where He wants me and what He wants me to do.
Yeah.
But it's great to be diverse, and I think, when you find that idea somewhere, maybe in your early 30s or mid 30s, this is it.
Yeah.
That
sweet spot, isn't it?
Your sweet spot. I mean, you've been playing all over the field, for a long time then.
Yeah.
But then suddenly, you realize that maybe this is where I make the most difference. This is the place where I can have a significant role to play. Then you just got to go for it, and keep on doing it. So usually when people interview me, everything goes back to that moment in time. 15-year-old, just deciding something and just never look back.
Yeah.
So, but I go back to that moment, even now as a 57-year-old young man.
Yeah.
57. 57 years young.
Exactly. No, I think that's great. One of the questions we do love to ask, and I think it's great that both of you are on this, is the question, what do you do for fun? Because sometimes in ministry everything's focused, but actually there's something about having fun and even doing that together as a married couple. So what do you guys do for fun?
So what do we do for fun, honey?
You can start.
Well, we travel for fun, we vacation for fun, and we do that, and then I have a lot of hobbies, and we have like a saying: if there's a new hobby coming in, some old's gonna get out, But I've always loved the adventurous thing. I'm a golfer. I play golf, so I love sports. But then I love fishing, hunting. I love hunting, and a little on the extreme side,
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit dangerous, but I like it.
Dangerous game, like bear hunting.
Bear hunting?
Yeah,
Deer?
bear hunting.
Yeah. Reindeer?
Reindeer is not that dangerous, but
nice to eat though. I like a
but
bit of
they taste
reindeer.
good.
Tastes good.
Tastes good.
Tastes good.
So I've been to Alaska or Siberia.
I'm just hoping there's no parents listening to this in the car with their kids in the back, because they are
Sorry, kids in the background.
Horrified. You just said I like eating reindeer. They're just
we've
thinking
had
of
Rudolph.
Rudolph.
Yeah, sorry. It is nice though. I like reindeer.
Yeah, but it's like an eco-friendly thing. It's like
Exactly.
Most guys who fish and hunt, they're super naturalists. They love nature. And they want it to be taken care of. So but. And I love to, I do a lot of rifle shooting and reloading things, ballistic things and all of that, tie my own fishing flies, and all that.
So when you're doing all that, what are you doing? Because
I don't have that many hobbies as he.
Is your hobby the fact he's gone?
Yeah. No.
Peace.
Peace in the house. Peace in the house. I don't have like that exactly, but I do read a lot and I do write a lot because that's been my job as well. So I still do that, and but it's not the same thing. But I more enjoy like peace and quiet and enjoying my grandkids. And,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're very social,
Yeah. I am. So.
Very social.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Great to find out about those things. And now you've mentioned already you've been in leadership for a long time. Did you say 35 years? Around there. We want to find out, dig in a little bit today and find out, like thinking of leaders, what are the qualities leaders need to last the long haul? What would you say are the key things leaders need to be thinking about?
Well, I think one of them is to understand that your calling is more important than comfort.
Nice.
Because I think being called by God, of course we want to enjoy life as anybody else. And I think this thing about, hobbies, we joke about it, but Ulrica once said, it's better for a man to have a good hobby than messing around with
Something else.
something he shouldn't do. You know,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
there's always a need for something to just kind of that is something different than just the everyday. I mean, you need to rewind. I mean, you need to just find, space sometimes to rethink and reevaluate and reinvent yourself, and just have for the sake of fun, just recharge.
Yeah.
But this thing about your calling and comfort, I think that we are living in an age where, if we look back in history, those guys that we are very grateful for and thankful for in Europe, that made Europe better, during the Second World War and gave the ultimate sacrifice. They are called the greatest generation ever lived. And then, as kids and grandkids and grandkids, I mean, what have we achieved? And I understand that in every person there are these qualities, but society sometimes today, it has a tendency to kind of diminish that, and because there is greatness in everybody.
Sure.
But this thing about comfort is something that is really challenging. What is greatness in us? So I think calling is more important than comfort. What do you say about that, honey?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So I think if you know that you know,
Yeah.
it's also a question of if God has called you. Scripture is very clear on that. He who called you,
Yeah.
He will also sustain you over time.
Yeah.
And it's ultimately He is the one who's actually going to help you finish this race.
Yeah. I wondered, Ulrika, because you mentioned it earlier, that you said when you went to Västerås.
Yep.
Which
Welcome
I am.
to Västerås.
Yeah. You were like 2 years.
Yeah.
That's it. Now
Yeah.
it's 30 years.
Yeah.
And obviously you've been there with that first mentality of, I don't want to be here long, but you have been there long. What's kept you there?
What shifted?
And what changed in your mentality in that to mean that, do you know what, we're here for the long haul in this place?
I would say it's my own calling as well, to find my own place. I used to say that I'm cousin to Moses in the Bible, because I've been, when I was younger, not now, but for many years I was struggling with, I can't say anything. Who am I? I was, happy to stand, in the shadow, in the background. But then I found my place, and I knew that I have, and everybody has a voice. Everybody's needed, and I'm needed. And having people around me that cheered me on, and we're always cheering each other on, and that's also a very, very important, not just a thing, but basic, that you have a good marriage along the way. If our marriage doesn't work, it's not fun to lead a church or to lead a family or to do anything, and to be an example. And I could see that when I was working in the newspaper world, but even now, to help people flourish in their marriage, and because everything starts here. Everything starts at home. And you can't be everything for everyone, but to find my own. I've been laughing a lot, and it's like I'm still 14, and laughing at little things and big things, and I can laugh when I'm allowed to, and when I'm not allowed to,
Yeah.
And
you were laughing at me this morning. When
I
we were flying.
did, I did. He did something funny, and it's enough, and then I laugh for half an hour or so. But that's also a very healthy thing for me. My mother was the same. She laughed until she died in a way, and that's also, don't take life so serious. It's like, it's hard anyway. So do it in a light spirit. Can you say that? And don't be so. When you enter a room, especially when you're a Christian, Jesus lives in my heart, and He's not a boring person. He's the best medicine to the world, and He lives in me. It's gonna be light when I enter a room. If it's dark and heavy, here comes Ulrica. She's a pastor. We can't laugh anymore. No, it's like here comes Nathan, and he's Jesus lives in him, and That's the personality. I think it's not too heavy, and also to just don't be too difficult. Don't make life too difficult. And
it's kind of that thing that try to travel light.
Yeah.
I mean, we all carry burdens, but I mean that it is a healthy exercise to leave your burdens at the cross, you know, so we can travel as light as possible.
And don't compare yourself with anyone else. I've never done that. It's like not so much now, maybe after COVID, but you know, how many people do you have in your church? How many people did you have in a gathering for women? Well, I don't know. If it's 10, it's 10. If it's 10,000, it's 10,000. It's everyone is unique and welcome. I never. But you can be inspired by other people. And that's another thing.
Definitely.
And that's another thing. But I'm not like in the numbers, or it's not a competition for me. You know?
I think that's some great advice in there, really, isn't it, for people listening? Because I think lots of people can compare themselves, compare their churches, you know, compare their lives. I'd like just to dig in a little bit further, if I can, Ulrica, to one of the things you've said there was around this idea that as you've been growing in life and journeying in life and in ministry, it took you a while to, I guess, to find your, if we use the word rhythm, or find your sweet spot. How long did it take for that to happen?
Probably quite a long time, maybe 10 years.
10 years,
before when we started, like...
Well, I think the background is that we grew up, you know, like classic... evangelical Pentecostal types church, you know, the pastor was the pastor and the family was somewhere in the background and so on. And there was a husband and the wife was somewhere else. And when we planted Life Center 23 years ago, it was the year 2000. We've seen a few are you know, role models. There was another type of church being built, that husband and wife, they were serving together. And even in church, you know, the question about female and women in leadership and so we just tore that out somehow, and just it's got to be a shift, you know. We were watching a clip the other day that said, I think it was R.W. Schambach that was preaching an old thing in the 80s. He said, okay, if a female were able to carry the word for 9 months and giving birth to the word, Jesus, why shouldn't she be able to share the word?
Nice.
And that was the kind of process that we went through. And so when we planted Life Center, you know, we just decided, hey, all positions are open. But let's also support each other in a way where we can see young leadership, older leadership, female, men, all nations. You know, there's no limitations on that. But we will go with a gift.
I like that.
And I think that was a bit of a shift for you, Ulrica, that we say, hey, you take on your own connect group, you start lead the women's ministry in a different way, and you speak what you have on your heart, and don't compare that way of speaking with somebody else. And so be comfortable in your own skin. But it took a while.
But for example, what I did, no one else has to do the same that I did. We still do, because I've been interviewing people for such a long time. I still do that when we have our women's gathering, for example. When we have like a famous guest or something, I always start with, hey, let me ask you a few questions. I love that. Sometimes it's been the whole, like if we have a sisterhood event, it's been the interview that is the main thing in the evening. You understand? That's my sweet spot.
I got you.
And you have to find what's your sweet spot. It's not the same.
No.
But I think that what I found is I'm good at this. Hey.
Hey, we should turn the tables then, shouldn't we, really?
No, but you know what I mean.
We know what you
And
mean.
just be able to say that
We
I'm
do.
actually good at this. Let me run with that.
And have the confidence in that, absolutely.
And be
Like-
curious and
Yeah.
actually ask a lot of a question is good for you. It's a good
Definitely.
education.
Yeah.
Hey, where are you from? Tell me about your family. Where did you grow up? And are you
the
family
learning.
Christian? And I found a lot about Paul on the way here. He doesn't know that, but you know.
just
And then you
asking
read
questions.
between the lines.
You can keep that for for a bit of blackmail at some point.
But you know what I mean.
Wait,
It's like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, like, thinking 23 years ago to run your church that way would have been a bit of a revolution.
Yeah.
Really. And especially, like, without being funny, in certain parts of Europe, traditional Pentecostalism
Yeah.
was much more strict,
Yeah,
wasn't it really?
absolutely. Yeah.
So to do what you
Absolutely.
guys did 23 years ago
Yeah.
was brave, really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so well done on that.
Thank you.
For paving the way for
Thank
lots
you.
of people who have come after you now, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the thing about lasting
Yeah.
leadership, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and just thinking around that, obviously we're talking about the long leadership, lasting leadership. What are some of the like common pitfalls that leaders have to avoid to last the long haul?
Well, it's probably the classics, girls, glory, gold.
Gold.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing about,
Yeah.
I think I believe in holiness, but I also believe that everybody struggles.
Yeah.
So finding a good mentor or
Right.
a good conversation partner somehow that you can deal some of this stuff with, I think it's very important to do that, and also keep the honesty. So for me, being a pastor, church and Sundays and leadership has, for me, been a key element, I would think, in me maturing as a leader, and also me shaping up. I mean, I have that type of respect for God that, if things are messed up and I'm supposed to get on the platform,
Yeah.
it doesn't really fit well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I even in our marriage, when we had some struggles or a lousy debate on something, we just I need to come clean.
Yeah.
For me, it's important, and to choose that type of lifestyle where you're finding some kind of checkpoints where you're okay regarding money, finances. Do I tithe?
Yeah.
Do I live a generous life? How's my relationship with other people? Do I share the testimony, or do I just tell everybody else to share their testimony?
Yeah.
Or so just being I think the generation of today, they would probably pinpoint authenticity and say, this is what we want. We want authenticity.
Yeah.
And something that is for real.
Yeah.
And if we do that, I think it's easier. But we're probably going back to the same challenges as Adam and Eve did. When they sinned, they're trying to cover up.
Yeah, yeah.
And people who cover up, no matter if they're a pastor or a president or whoever they are, eventually it will come out. So
And get help if you need it.
Yeah.
It's not a weakness to say, hey, we need help.
Great.
If we're struggling with our kids or in the church, or if a leader, next step.
But I also
Definitely.
think that my spirituality is my responsibility.
Yeah.
And that it is, if you have a leadership position, is something important. It's like you are the one making the difference. So I'm not the only guy, but at least I need to take responsibility for what God has given me.
Yeah.
And if I do that, and also serve a God that I know is holy, I can't do whatever. I cannot just put my gift away, but I also need to protect my gift.
Yeah.
And I think that has really something to do with the longevity, staying for long,
Yeah.
and keep at it, and of course over and over again, preserve that by you're in the Word and you're praying and you're
Very good.
And I was thinking of a couple of things you've mentioned there. I mean, obviously you've talked about this idea of authenticity.
Yeah.
Sort of like today's generation are looking for authenticity, but we also need what you've described as those checkpoints.
Yeah.
Because you can have authenticity, but without checkpoints,
Yeah.
it just becomes a free-for-all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned some of the checkpoints there, thinking of finance,
Yeah.
thinking of, I guess, your calling
Yeah.
and how you are before God. What other checkpoints do you think, I mean, between you, Ulrica, what do you think? What other checkpoints do leaders need to have?
It's the family. How's your family?
How's your
How's
family?
your kids?
Good one, yeah.
And it's also it's good for a mother or a father to have the question, how are your kids? I remember your son was named, and it's good to hear, you remember my children or my grandkids. Don't be too big that you ignore, the people around you. If they celebrate the little things, when someone has a baby.
Dynamics of family life is something that we celebrate.
Yeah.
So Of course, when we come here, we want to know about you.
Yeah.
We want to know about your 3 boys and what do they do, and I think that authentic type of living is something that we cherish, and we believe that church can be huge and big and celebrate. I love big things, I love being in a huge concert, like an arena thing. But I love that club gig too. So I think, and that is Christianity. Like Acts 2, 42 and on. It's big church, it's small church. So it's both authentic, but we can also have that experience of something bigger and being part of something bigger. And that could also be one of those things about lasting for a long time. If we only live in the small, if we only see the small, how big is our God? He loved the world. He didn't only love my street, but he did not only love the world, but he was also personal, individual. So if we get that to can combine those things, it's perspective, I think, on leadership.
Definitely.
No, really good. Really
and
good.
I'm collecting stories. I will probably have some stories from this week that we're going to spend here to listen to people. You find out new stories from the good parts in life and the hard. And when life hits you very hard, because it does sometimes, you hit the wall. And we all, if you're 57, we've done that a few times in life. But there's a way on the other side of the wall. So just go down on your knees, pray to God, and there is a way. We've been there, done that. And you will, if you haven't been there, you will be there. But there is a way through the wall, and it's Jesus Christ standing on the other side, waiting for you. So just don't give up. Get on your knees, read your Bible. Every morning is the best. Because then everything is sleeping, and the demons are not awake. But that's the best. And then and go to church. That's the best medicine if you're going through some hard things. Go to church, read your Bible, pray. It's the same medicine. Like it was for my.
We want something new, don't we? We want this brand new thing, but actually it's the same old principles that make the big difference. I wonder if you talk a little bit around church life as well. Obviously, you've been leading the church for a long time, and just thinking about this as being leaders, how you create a culture of trust and respect that encourages that long term and that lasting within that, your church team, within the people around your church.
Well, I think honesty is where it all comes down, because we see people grow, we see people come into new positions and so on, and we've seen people fail. We've seen people mess up over the years too, and maybe one of the key elements that you can identify in when things go bad is that people isolate themselves. So you messed up and you're ashamed, and I think a culture that is respecting also. Or building a culture that has, it's a comeback culture. I wrote a book a couple of years ago called Comeback.
It was in your short bio.
Yeah, it was my bio, but it's not.
We'll put it in the show links as well.
If you want to read it in Swedish, you can, but it's not in English. But the thing is, just I gathered a bunch of comeback stories and shared about that. And I think if you can create an environment where it's okay to make a comeback, it also creates an environment where people. Failing forward, as they say.
Great.
So I think that is key for me.
I agree. He always says come on over to the victory side. And I mean, it's also important to to the marriage again. If I'm down or he's down, it's like we lift each other up. It's not like, oh, did someone hurt you? Oh, poor you. It's like, come on, I think you're bigger than this.
It's one area where I meditated on a little last year, and I've been speaking about it. It's this thing about, when people are hurting or when things are gone wrong. It's like we are often there with empathy, and it's not. I think in the Christian world we're not. It's not so much like you're bad or you're just like people are pointing fingers. Maybe they speak behind your back, but they're never telling you that. But what people really need is not really empathy. I mean, it's one thing I come to a friend who's messed up and I give him empathy. My heart is bleeding for you, brother. I love you, blah, blah, blah. But what they really need is hope. They need hope.
Yeah.
This can change. We can fix this.
Yeah.
You got to own up, but we can fix this. We can sort this out. You're not dead in the water. There's hope. And I think if you can create that kind of culture that breeds that,
like that,
we would see more people sustaining.
Yeah.
And because it hits hard, you know, where there's pride.
Yeah.
And pride is always there when people fail.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So lasting the distance has a lot to do with hope.
Yeah.
And that.
Those comeback stories.
And some of the greatest players, you know, like in soccer and football, I mean, they messed up really, really bad, but we love them, you know, and if they just, okay, I was really bad, you know, it was wrong, I'm so sorry. I mean, we take him on, you know, again. We love that because we see the gift too.
We do,
And maybe we need a little bit more of that in the Christian setting as well, Christian leaders. Because I think sometimes that's not always there, is it?
No.
Where people mess up, and once they've messed up, it's almost like they're out of the game forever.
PJ and Ulrica, a big thank you.
You are the best. You are the best. Best podcast in the world.
It's been so great to have you on the Church Explained podcast. And I just want to thank everyone for listening. And remember, wherever you are consuming this content, then share, subscribe, share it with someone you know that it will bless them as well. And also, don't forget, you can head over to icon.church/open for a load of free resources for yourself as a leader, but also for your church. But we look forward to seeing you next time on the Church Explained podcast.